Welcome back to another episode of Teach Traffic. I am your host, Alana Wexler, and today we are continuing on our e-commerce journey, and I have invited Owen Bolwell from peachymama.com or .com.au rather, and a bunch of other websites to talk about his experience in the world of e-commerce. I am sort of embarking on my own journey in e-commerce, sort of stepping out of the agency space. And I saw, Owen, your post on a community that we're both a part of, which is Super Fast Business, about your experience with e-commerce. And you sounded like you had a lot of experience under your belt that I thought would be really valuable to share with our listeners today. So welcome to today's episode, Owen.
Yeah, thanks, Alana. Thanks. It's good to be here. Quite impromptu, as we both agreed before.
Yes, exactly. We've both got lots of things going on in our world. For me, I'm currently going through a 14-day retargeting challenge, which is a fun experience and proving to be a lot more work than I thought, but that's all good. You get that.
Yes.
And I'm sure you've got lots going on in your life. So thank you. And I appreciate you taking time out of your really busy day. Do you want to give us a little bit of a background, brief background about yourself and how you fell into e-commerce?
Yeah, well, look, I basically fell into e-commerce by accident, I would say. I spent my early years in the music industry as a producer. And so I was working with record companies and artists and things back in my youth, and then started a family and got into marketing. I've always been into marketing, so I got into marketing, stepped into corporate for a while, and then my wife Meryl, she started her own a small brand on the kitchen table. Nearly a decade ago, actually. And she was in the fashion business for a while there. And she was making clothes for herself after our second child was born. And sort of after baby mum wear, sort of not maternity, but it's afterwards. And so she was making her own clothes, and friends around her wanted the clothes. And then that kind of snowballed. And you can sort of equate it to you're in an aeroplane, right? And it's just starting to go down the runway, and it's slowly. And sometimes it gets off the ground, but then it doesn't get off the ground. And sometimes it gets off the ground, then it doesn't get off the ground. And it was going like that for, I would say, a couple of years. And we'd put a bit of money into it and just got it off. And she did some local manufacturing here. And then I left corporate at the end of 2015 and basically jumped into the business, into the brand Peachy Mama, and running the marketing and the e-com side. And basically, I'd already been doing it with her as a side hustle, from about 2013 onwards. So we'd already made a lot of our mistakes back then. And it was really starting to pick up steam towards the end of 2015. And that's where I jumped in. And so we grew it from there, from the kitchen table. And we then took over the whole house, basically. There was stock everywhere, down the hallways, in every spare room. It was one of those sort of businesses.
Yes.
Then eventually we one of our manufacturers, we started getting our garments made overseas. Yeah. One of our manufacturers wanted to come in as an equity partner, and we hummed and hawed for about a year on that one. And finally we agreed to that. And so they came in as an equity partner. They're still our partners, which is fabulous. And that enabled us to really ramp up the company. So we got ourselves a warehouse, we got office space, we were able to hire some designers, technicians, social media manager. So we were able to get the team together, and basically it allowed us to also get off the tools. So we weren't picking and packing, we weren't sending stuff out, we weren't receiving goods in. We were basically focusing on building the business. Yeah.
Yep.
And so that was really good. And then I was over in America to set up that particular part of the operation. So what we're doing is we use a 3PL over there, a third-party logistics warehouse. So directly from the factory in China, the garments get sent directly to the warehouse in the US. Great bunch of people. I spent a while over there figuring out the right one to go with. We've got our customer service in California, and our social media manager over there is based in Florida. So it's quite a
global operation you've got going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And amazing how it's grown so fast. But before we kind of go into where you are now with your e-commerce store, let's just sort of backtrack a little bit and unpack how you did your market research. I know that you're personally a believer in playing, or being your target audience, and obviously your wife was your target customer for that.
Wasn't me.
It wasn't you. Yeah, exactly. Do you want to kind of maybe discuss why you think that is so important, and for potentially our listeners, if they're not their target audience, is it still worth pursuing something that you're not your target audience?
Yeah, that's a really good one, because look, and I want to step back just a little bit from that as well. There's two kinds of e-commerce stores we can build here. We can do a drop shipping model, which is you just have to jump on Instagram or LinkedIn and everyone's spruiking some kind of drop shipping, get rich quick, make your $1 million a year. And then there's the other one where you've got a brand, you've got a product that you've developed and that you're passionate about, and that's kind of tied in with a purpose, an end purpose, which brings us into being your customer for the product that you're selling. And so, look, that's been our journey. I can't speak on the drop shipping model, but there's a few aspects of the drop shipping model that kind of don't make sense to me, as far as it's hard enough out there in the competitive environment, so that when you're selling exactly the same thing as someone else is selling, it just makes it even more difficult. So
I've actually had a little bit of experience in drop shipping, just more dabbling, really.
Yep.
And I have to agree with you. I'm not a fan of it either, but more to the point of not having just the same product as somebody else, but more along the lines of I've got no control on what the end product looks like. And actually, when I launched my drop shipping store, I mean, this is going back, probably 4 years ago now. I actually ordered the product myself because I wanted to see, well, what am I going to be flogging here? And I was really disappointed with the quality. The quality was terrible. Nothing that I would want to put my name and my brand to. I mean, obviously, because I created a new brand, but nothing that was worthy of growing. And also the delivery time was really long. Like, I ordered it and it was like 5 weeks later. I mean, maybe that's because I'm in Australia. If it was in America, it would be different. Pre-COVID, obviously. And so there were lots of things that I just thought, if I was the end customer, I'd be pretty upset.
Yeah. And look, there's a lot about it. I'm actually quite passionate about this idea of, if you're going to spend all your time and effort and money, let's face it, because you can put a lot of money into these businesses. If you're going to do that, you may as well.
Time is money, actually. But anyway.
Well, time is money, absolutely. But even when you're putting all those resources into an effort, into something, you may as well put it into something that you have control over, and that you also can kind of build up to be an asset, okay, that you can sell off at the end of the day. I mean, that's kind of the holy grail of building these businesses, So getting back to the point of being your customer. So Meryl, she knew what she wanted. She knew how to make it. Okay. So she had a really good grounding in not just what she wanted as the customer, but how to go about making it. Okay. And even though she didn't end up making it herself, she knew the process in making it. So she could direct the manufacturers. She knew what good quality was over bad quality. She knew what, she could speak the same language as the manufacturers.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of important. when you are developing your own product. And so getting back to being the customer, our market research was basically, it all came from her and her circle of mums.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That kind of leads me to my next question about market research. And I think, especially in a case where you are your own potential customer, you can have the false illusion to think, well, everybody wants this because I want it, right? And especially for in the baby world, it's a common sort of joke amongst my circle of friends, because we're all mums, that, if someone becomes a mum and they create a product for the baby industry because that's the world that they're in, and then they think everyone wants this, when in actual fact, not everyone wants it. So such is the thing of, proper market research.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know if you did really extensive market research, and if so, what market research did you do to validate your product idea?
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, the first thing we did was see how big the market was. Okay. We knew that her circle of friends liked the product and were looking for the product. Okay. So then we went a bit wider. I did some more, what you would call, desk research, in looking at birth rates and Bureau of Statistics and this, that, and the other. So looking at the size of the pool that we had to work with. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then narrowing that down to see, okay, the size of the pool that would want these sort of garments, and so and it was quite a sizable chunk of the pool. The other thing I did was some keyword research. So actually, I jumped in to, what was I using at the time? Longtail Pro, I think.
Oh wow!
Yeah. I was using that at the time, so basically putting in the keywords, seeing what the monthly search volume was.
Yep. I mean, these days you could use the Google keyword tool, even though those numbers are estimates.
Absolutely, and there's all sorts of tools you can use. I think back then it was just something that I had. So we just were the monthly searches for these keywords going to give us the volume or a percentage of the volume of traffic that we're going to need to drive our conversions. So look, after we ticked those boxes, we were already going.
Yeah, right. Okay.
We're already going.
Did you consult a tool like Google Trends or something to see, maybe, I know what some people do is like, we're both in Australia, and obviously I'm sure you started selling in Australia. Did you look at, the size of the market in the US, for example, as a proxy of what it could possibly become here?
Yeah, it certainly did. That's another one of my things too, is that if I'm going to be building a business, again, if I'm going to be putting life savings in there, all your time, all your effort, I want it to be a global business. Yeah. Or I want it to be able to be expanded into a global market. And so, for sure, we looked at the domestic market, but we also looked at, okay, what does this look like in the States? Roughly, it's 10 times here. Yeah, rough as guts, as a market size.
If you were starting a new e-commerce brand from scratch now in 2021, is there anything else that you would do market research wise that you possibly didn't do before? Like through your experience, you thought, I wish I would have done this.
Yeah. Look, I think that's a really tricky one, because you can get bogged down with market research. You know,
paralysis by analysis almost.
You can, yeah. And I think if you just take 1, 2, or 3 data points, okay, whether it's keyword volume and total size of the pool, and maybe social media influencer followers in your particular niche, that's probably a good one too. That's the one that we're starting to really look at now, because we're starting to get utilize a lot of influencers in our market, especially in the States.
Interesting. Through like sponsored posts and stuff.
Yeah, more just we provide them garments and they do some posts for us, basically.
Yeah, right. And you find that works well?
Yeah, works really, really well.
Interesting.
So, and it also gives us material for the website. Okay, so we've got, if you look on our website, we've got a lot of different images from our influencers with our product. So
Yep.
that works really well. But yeah, I would say just taking some major data points, try and see who else is out there doing it. Now that's another big thing too, is looking at your competitors. Yeah.
Totally.
So we actually found that we were a niche within a larger niche. So that meant that we looked at our competitors, we looked at the offer, at what they were doing. Were they doing something similar to what we were doing? Yes, they kind of were. But could we do it better? Could we do it differently? Yes, we kind of could. Yeah. Now back then, that's what we were able to do. Now we've not personally, but for our little brand, we've got probably half a dozen competitors that have popped up in the last 3 or 4 years that are really giving us a run for our money. So we have to look at different ways of getting through into our market, and it's kind of good and bad. Yeah, there's pluses and minuses. It just means the good part about it is it means the market's there. Yeah, and the market is growing, and they want what we're supplying. But with that comes all the competitors jumping in too. So it's a bit of a backhanded one, that one.
Yeah. I've dabbled in e-commerce long enough, and I've spoken to lots of other fellow e-commerce owners and operators who've been in the space for a long time, and unanimously everyone talks about the importance of your margins. And
margins.
I know. So, I was wondering if, for our listeners who are somewhat maybe starting their journey into e-commerce, if you could sort of share some of your lessons about the importance, of margins, what's a good margin, and if you had your time again, what would you look for?
Yeah. Margins. Now, I've actually just written a blog post on margins.
Oh, that's convenient.
It's not published yet, but it's dear to our hearts, because what you find is that your margin is the key to whether your business lives or dies. It really is. That's where it comes down to. Yes, you've got your market, you've got your keyword volume, you've got your competitor analysis, you've done all that sort of work. If you don't have enough margin there to be able to facilitate your marketing and your growth, you may be a one-man band or a one-woman band. It doesn't matter. If you don't have the margin there, you can't move. You're going to be paralyzed.
Yeah, totally.
Well, no, it's true. It's true. And so basically what's going to happen is that if you simply break down a product, product, say $100 product. Yeah. Your operating overheads are going to be around about 30%. Okay. Regardless of whether you're one person or 10 people, it's going to be around about 30% of your overall revenue, roughly. Okay. As a rule of thumb, that's kind of what we learned. And then you're going to need basically another 30% for your marketing. Yeah. So that you can afford your pay-per-click ads, and you can do some influencer marketing, some pay-per-click ads. That's kind of about it. That's really all you really want to be focusing on in the early stages anyway.
Yeah.
But you want to be able to allow, 30%, say $30 a product or a sale. Let's say it's a sale. So you're going to need that. And so if your COGS, your cost of goods sold, if that is more than, say, around 30%, which means your margin, you're really looking for a 70% margin. Yeah. And we're not even at a 70% margin yet. All right. But that is kind of the holy grail. And you'll find that when you can get to that 70%, I think we're around about 65. We're slowly creeping up. When you can get into that realm, that means that you can afford to have your operating overhead of $30 for your $100 product, your marketing of $30, your cost of goods for $30, and roughly, it leaves you $10 profit at the end of the day, which again is probably just going to get soaked up into growth, but you're still not going backwards.
Yeah.
So margin is, it's kind of everything.
And I'm curious if you have any ideas on ways that you can improve your margin. I mean, I know from an ad point of view, one way that people improve their margins is by boosting average order value, right? They have buy one, get the second one at a discount to boost the average order value and therefore the ultimate margin. What are some other ways that you have improved your margin? Because I can imagine when you started out, your margin wasn't at 65%. It's something that you've worked towards to get to that point, and hopefully you will get to the elusive 70%.
Yeah.
So what are some levers that you've pulled and tweaked and to get to that 65%?
Yeah, that's a good one. You'll find that to get your margin up, you're really going to need to, first of all, you've got to be managing your suppliers, really, really closely. When you first start, your MOQ or your minimum order quantity will be very low, and it should be really low. I've had some friends who have basically just gone into an e-com business, boots and all. Let's order a container load of widgets, and we're really confident about this thing, and hey, let's go. And I think they've still got 3/4 of those widgets sitting in their garage 5 or 6 years later. And kind of they do that because of to get that price per unit. But I think that's a big mistake when you're first starting out. Go with the minimum order as less as you can get as possible, and you'll be paying top dollar for it. But you will be able that guarantee that first order will probably be wrong. Okay. Especially if you're getting it from overseas. That first order, I could almost guarantee it'll be wrong. Okay. And you've really got to write that off as education. But the thing is, if you don't, blow your whole budget on it, then you're okay. You can live to fight another day, and you just do it better next time. Yeah. All right. So your minimum order quantity, that's not going to help your margin. Really, what you can do, that I think the best thing to do is to increase your conversion on your website. For me, that is increasing that conversion percentage. That is probably the most effective tool that you can use to increase your revenue, which again will increase your buying power, which will lower your cost of goods, which will increase your margin. It'll also lower your cost of marketing, lower your overhead percentage. So maybe from 30%, it goes down to 25%. All those factors make a big, big difference. Yeah. But I would say, look, there's the biggest lever there to pull is your conversion percentage. The other lever is your average order value, as you're saying. So it's like, okay, for that $100 product, you could have something at checkout that's basically an upsell at checkout. It's like having the lollies at the supermarket, at the supermarket checkout.
The impulse buy.
Absolutely. And you incentivize it, and it's not rocket science, and it's been done. Everybody does it, but it's one of those things where it actually works. So if you can add another $20 onto that $100 order or $100 product, then all of a sudden you're in business. You're making some serious headway, and especially if you can pair that with increasing your conversion rate percentage. So even if you can, if say you're sitting on 2.5, even if you can squeeze that up to 3, it's going to make a massive difference to your bottom line. And if you can nudge down your cost of goods, and basically, even nudge down your cost per acquisition. That's another big one that I look at. With our average order value, it's around about $152. Right. Our average order value. So my target with my pay-per-click advertising is between $10 and $12. If I can get that purchase cost per purchase to that kind of number, I'm happy. I'll just keep that going all day long.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about your traffic generating strategies, because I know you are a believer in running your own traffic, and I definitely want to talk to you about that. But just going back to the margins, what are your thoughts on shipping, on shipping really, and choosing a product which is heavy? I know so many people who teach the world of e-commerce, bang on about you got to choose a small product, you're going to pay a lot in shipping. But then what ends up happening is everyone's just focusing on really small products. And then everyone starts a supplement brand or a skincare brand for those reasons. It's small, it's repetitive, and it's light. So, I'm a big believer in zigging while others are zagging. And so therefore maybe you actually do heavy products because there's far less competition in that space. But then you've got the issue of really heavy products. So I guess, I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that, in ways to sort of bring down your shipping costs if you've got a really heavy product, or you just don't go there?
I think that's a great idea. I really do. And I think it's a really good point that you make, because Meryl and I are often talking about what a headache it is to store garments and to ship garments and all that sort of thing. It's a headache. Sometimes we just wish we had a little bottle of something,
Yes.
and that was it. High value, $100 a bottle all day long. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. That's not reality.
No, it's not.
And I'm always very, very jealous when I see products like this and they're just killing it. They're just killing it. Damn you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so look, I think it's a great strategy, because and even making the product, I mean, even shipping, yeah, for sure. But even trying to make it, I mean, I think any competitors that come into our market and they're trying to do a quality garment, we basically say, go for it, guys. It's
good luck.
It's not that easy. You're gonna spend this amount of money. We know you are, and yeah, just go for it. Here's the patterns. Here you go. Good luck.
I'll talk to you in 3 years' time.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, I'm with you on the shipping though, because shipping's always a big thing,
Yeah.
and I know, especially with the States, where we're finding that anything that's not free shipping is, people don't want to know you, and so we kind of play the card. Yeah, Amazon's educated them to expect it.
I know. Americans, in my experience, will not pay for shipping because Amazon Prime has just beaten them out of them. Whereas us Australians, we're used to it. We'll pay easily $20 shipping because we're used to it.
Yes. No, but seriously, so what we're finding though is that we're getting a lot of pushback on the shipping.
Yeah.
So what we do is we play we're a small family business card, which we are. Okay. So, and the thing is, we're not really seen as a small family business because we kind of project ourselves as being a larger entity.
Yeah.
But seriously, there's half a dozen of us. That's it. So we kind of play that card, and we basically say, we're a small family business. We can't compete with the big corporates. So we paint the big corporates as being these big impersonal, gigantic corporations.
Behemoths.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can't afford it. Sorry, but what we can do is a flat rate. I'm a firm believer in flat rate shipping. Okay. So flat rate shipping.
You did warn me about the dogs.
I warned you. We're a bit late, but yeah, 1 o'clock. Yeah. I told you.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I'm a big believer in flat rate shipping, because the less thinking you can get your customer to do, the better. Yeah. So we just say $10 flat rate. Doesn't matter where it is. That's it. Yeah. If you spend over a certain amount, you get it free. But $10, that's it. And that kind of works with our American customers. Right. The other one too is returns. Yeah. Returns. So that's a beauty, especially in the fashion game. Returns are huge. We try and minimize it as best we can, and you can do that if you're in the fashion business with good sizing charts and accurate fit. But again, in the States, they expect free returns. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to be able to send returns back, and again, we play the small business card, and it kind of works. So it's not a huge thing for us. But I'm with you on zigging while zagging, while the others are zagging. I think that can be a really good strategy if you can get it to work financially.
Yep. Let's talk a little bit about your belief, and you sort of stand by your belief by doing it in running your own traffic. As somebody who's run a pay-per-click agency for a very long time, although I don't do much agency work anymore, I can't tell you how many times I had people come to me who had a brand new store, no traffic coming to their site, whatever. They just want to go straight to hiring an agency to get them to help them launch their product, etc. And whilst that is sort of one school of thought, it always kind of felt a bit weird to me to take on a brand new account. I always felt like my secret sauce or my special skill was inheriting an existing account where there was data for me to look at, that I can analyze the data and then turn it around and really, learn from the data, kill off the losers, double down on the winners, etc. And I do believe actually that people should have, at the very least, a basic understanding of how campaigns work, the basic campaigns to run yourself. Even if ultimately you do end up hiring an agency, you can have intelligent conversations with that ad manager as to what's going on. I've seen countless people pull the wool over other people's eyes, or the end client has just got literally no idea. It's such an important part in growing a business. Of course, it's not the entire thing, but it's one piece of an important piece of the whole pie. So I'm curious to how you learnt traffic and the campaigns that you taught yourself, and just that journey with that.
Yeah, no, good question. I'm only a firm believer in doing it yourself to start with. Yeah. And I'm with you on that. I think if you're just starting out in this stuff, it's good to get a handle on the mechanics of it, how it works, the principles behind it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was my feeling at the start of everything anyway. I wanted to know how this thing worked. I wanted to know how the Facebook ads worked and how the Google ads worked and what was behind it all. And because it kind of keeps changing, it's been a constant learning curve. We actually came late to the party, to be honest, on the paid advertising side of things. We spent a lot of time and effort on content marketing early on.
Interesting.
So from January 2013, we started a weekly blog on the Peachy Mama Aussie site, and which we outsourced. Yeah. Yep. And so that's still going today. So every week there's a blog post that gets published, and that's, I don't know how many years, that's going back a while now. And that's worked so well for us. I look at our Google Analytics and we get a lot of traffic. I would say 3/4 of our organic traffic comes through a blog post, which is quite good, but it's still relevant to our customer. I suppose it works because it's relevant to our customer, because our customer has just had a baby. She's looking for information. Yeah. Because I know when we first had kids, you don't know what the hell you're doing. Yeah. So you're in the dark with everything. You know that.
Oh yeah. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt.
That's it. Second or third one comes around. It's like, yeah, no worries. Got it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Forget
got
it. But the first one, you're freaking out. You know nothing. So there's this quest for information, and we kind of tap into that with our blog articles, and that then gets them into the site and they see what there is to offer, and that then converts. It actually really converts really well. So that's what we were concentrating on early on, content marketing. But when I jumped in full time in 2015, I actually had time to really focus on getting a handle on the pay-per-click on the Facebook and the Google, and I kind of did them in tandem. Yeah, so did them both together because they're two different beasts, as you know.
Oh yeah.
But I kind of did them in tandem, and I found that over the years, one would work really well, then the other one wouldn't, and then and they'd sort of go up and down like this in their effectiveness. And I
Mm.
was forever constantly monitoring. And that's kind of how I learned. We allocated a certain amount of money. And the way I did that was that I allocated a certain amount per order that I was willing to spend. And
Right.
like I was saying, between $10 and $12, But because we get, 30, 40 orders a day type thing, it gives you a substantial budget to be playing with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think now though, I'm actually starting to think, okay, maybe it's time to get someone else to do this and to do this daily thing, because seriously, it takes me 2 full days of just concentration to get in and create the ads, get the imagery right. Because
For Facebook.
yeah, for Facebook, make sure we're still on track with our keyword things for Google, testing different texts, different elements of the ad. It's like I've just finished running a Facebook test over the past couple of weeks with real short form copy, medium copy, and real long form copy, like basically a whole about page
Yep.
kind of thing. And funnily enough, the medium and the long form copy really performs really, really well.
Yeah.
For us.
I can't tell you how much money I have spent on my own business and also my clients' ads, split testing short copy versus long copy. And it's a case of like, I'm constantly proven wrong. I mean, I'm humble enough now, been proven wrong too many times. So I'd stay humble. And starting out, I thought, oh, this is, short copy's going to kill it, of course, because who's got the attention span to read long copy, right? Well, let me tell you, like, long copy wins every single time. And then it sort of dawned on me afterwards where long copy actually kind of becomes a mini landing page, actually. And if they do make it down the bottom, because people that inherently don't want to leave the Facebook ad platform, right? They're there because they want to engage in their friends' photos and groups, etc. And so if something does pique their interest and they do make it all the way down, it's served like a mini landing page, actually. And so I don't know if you've done it in your ads because I haven't seen them, but we will often lace through the long copy, call to action links throughout the way, so they don't have to scroll all the way up the top or click on the button or whatever. Maybe I don't know if you've done that, but long copy, 9 out of 10 times wins. It's quite interesting.
Oh, there you go. Well, I've just proven it with this little test I did.
Yeah, there you go.
I was surprised. I was exactly the same. I thought, nah, short copy, no worries. These guys have got no time at all. But no, you're right. You're right. And they've converted the best into sale. Yeah.
And was it an image ad with the long copy or a video ad?
Yeah, it was an image ad. Funnily enough, we've tried lots of different videos, and for us, it's always the image ads that convert the best for us, either static or carousel.
Interesting.
They kind of really do, yeah.
I actually challenge you to trying a very, very basic video ad. In my experience with e-commerce, it's almost like you need a video ad that is just so clear that a 10-year-old will know what it is, what it does, what are the features, what are the benefits, and why they'd buy. It's almost like you can't make it too simple. And I don't know if your video ad does that, but people want, like this is simulating a offline experience, right? You're simulating an experience of someone walking into a store, picking the thing off the rack, touching, feeling it. Why would I buy this as opposed to something else? And if you can have a video that conveys that, then I think it's worthy of trying.
I will. How long do you reckon this video should be?
Look, I'd say no more than 3 minutes. I mean, ideally, depending on what the product is and how much in depth you've got to go, but I'd say, around the 1 to 2 minute mark is fine. Okay. And I would have copy above it as well. But, like I just see time and time again, like people try and get too clever by half, and have really like, at the end of the day, people don't want to be sold to, but they like to buy, right? So if you can kind of put your ad in front of the right person, so you nail your targeting, which I'm sure you're doing. But number two is just the clarity on what it is and what problem you're solving. And as I said, simulate that experience for people, that, you know, what does it look like the front and the back, and they try it on, and here's how you use it, and blah, blah, blah. And just really basic, actually. And actually, I interviewed someone recently on my podcast who I don't know the episode number off the top of my head, but he sort of was sharing his experiences about selling a men's wallet, which is a leather wallet that's converted from baseball gloves, old baseball glove leather that's been then converted into a wallet. And he said by far, yeah, really cool. And you can check out the episode. It will be a couple before this one. I don't know, as I said, the number off the top of my head. And he was saying exactly that, actually. So his experience is the same as mine, that they had a video ad that was super simple. It was a face to camera video, a guy sitting at a desk, and it was, you know, the lighting was set up nicely. It was all very kind of, I guess, for lack of a better word, manly. It was in a man cave and there's leather around him, you know. It sort of had that nice, you know, scene. The scene was set, but literally the video, and I've seen this video ad actually, is just a man holding the product, holds it up to the camera so you can really see the fine stitching of it. He sort of goes through what it looks like with cards in, what it looks like with cards out, the front, the back. You're simulating that experience of if you were picking it up and feeling it and looking at it in a shop, what would you want to see? You know, none of this clever jingle kind of, you know, like classic kind of advertisement. It's, this is the product and this is the story behind it, etc. So anyway.
Hey, all right, I will do it.
I guess all I'm saying is, in my experience, for e-commerce, video ads can be incredible. And if you have found that video ads don't work, perhaps it's the video rather than that video ads don't work for my industry, which they may not, and I'm not saying that they definitely will, but I'd persist with testing different videos, because let me tell you, when you find that right video, it is the gift that keeps on giving.
And isn't it great when you do find the combination that works?
Yep.
Yeah. Isn't it sort of, it's like, whoa, you know, and you just don't want to touch it just for fear of changing something.
Well, that's exactly right. And I've spoken to also so many people over the years who say, oh, you know, I've spoken to other people and they say it's going to take us 60 days to get results. It's like, no. Like, if something's going to work, it's actually going to work really quickly. And if something's not going to work, it's also not going to work quickly.
What time frame should we be looking at for something to work?
In my experience, like if you're not getting, if we're talking Facebook or Google, right? If you've got a very well seasoned, let's say, Facebook ad account where you've got enough traffic coming through your site, Facebook knows who you want, you know your audiences, right? I reckon you should be able to get results within a week. You will know, like, and in fact, it's like night and day, like, because I've had such a snapshot of experience from running an agency for so long in so many different industries. Like, I've taken on clients in the past where, you know, we launched something and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on in this industry? Because this is like crazy. And it happens quickly. You just hit on a nerve. And for whatever reason, people are really into it. They're passionate about the industry. One was in the pet space, and people are crazy about their pets. And the other was in the religious space, so it was Christianity stuff. Actually, these people were really, really passionate. I mean, they were just two examples where, you know, they were hungry for it, you know, and it was just like feeding a starving crowd, really, you know. So yeah, in my experience. Well, that's right. It happens really quickly. Anyway, I feel like, yeah.
No, that's brilliant, because I was going to ask you, what, in your experience, you know, what does work best for an e-commerce store? Is there any one sort of combination of ad on, let's say take Facebook, for instance, is there any one combination of ad that kind of that you've seen working time and time again?
Look, you know, I would say it really depends on the industry that you're in, and yeah, like different industries behave completely differently. But it just, in my experience, if I could, you know, a good video ad that has those elements that I've explained is worth its weight in gold. Put in front of the right person and it solves the problem and it ticks all those boxes, like the product sells like yours does. It wouldn't be a brand new product that's innovative, that people haven't heard of, that not already buying. It's got to kind of fit that criteria. But getting your targeting right's easy, actually. It's the creative and pushing people off the fence to move now and not later is the hard part, because people will inherently delay making a decision if they don't need to, right? Like, why would I buy this now as opposed to, I'll decide next week. So how big of a problem are you solving for people? Your product with, probably, breastfeeding product is someone's breastfeeding right now, therefore it solves a problem for them now. And if they can discreetly breastfeed in public, well then, as somebody who's gone through that, that's pretty attractive, right? So you just have to convey that and illustrate and show people why your product is different to others, and etc.
Good.
But I'm curious though, going back to the traffic strategy, is there one campaign that just works really, really well for you? I mean, I've got an idea in my head of what I think it could be, but I'm curious.
Look, with Facebook, especially where our lookalike audiences work really, really well for us.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually the audience that I tested the short form, medium form, long form copy on.
I think that would be a testament to how much traffic you've got coming through your site, maybe from your SEO. That's really seasoned your pixel, and therefore your lookalike audience is really good. What about
that's a really good point. On the combining, it's kind of, you don't do these things in a vacuum, as you know. It's like, so we also spend money on SEO. We don't spend a fortune on SEO, but I've got a great guy that I met through another guy, and this particular SEO whiz, he comes from one of the larger firms. He just went out on his own. It's basically him and a laptop and a little remote team, and he's just brilliant. And we don't spend a fortune on our SEO, but we're consistently up the top. Yeah. So that gets us a lot of organic traffic, and combining that with the blog articles, and even the Google ads that just tick along in the background, just sending traffic through, then that, as you said, that kind of seasons the pixel on our Facebook ads. And the Facebook ads are kind of where we get our conversion. So you're right, it all just comes in to this one point, and we get them on the Facebook ad.
I'm curious if you are doing retargeting on multiple platforms.
Yeah, we are doing retargeting, a lot of retargeting on Facebook. Okay. And we're doing some retargeting on Google. I'm not getting as much return on my investment on Google. So given that we've got a finite budget per day, I monitor it constantly, and I'm always wary about pushing that up as opposed to putting money into the Facebook and Instagram retargeting, which works really well for us. Our return on investment is huge on that stuff. So I figure if it's not broken, I don't fix it.
Yeah, fair enough. Cool. Last question with traffic wise, are you doing Google Shopping? You find that works well?
We are doing Google Shopping in Australia. That works really well. It got really expensive last year through COVID. Just overall pay-per-click advertising really shot up last year with all the activity on e-commerce, obviously. It got really expensive, but no, that works really well for us. Interestingly, though, we've still got our US store, which I'm going through the motions of getting it all changed at the moment to be an American based entity. But at the moment, our US store is still using our Aussie entity as its main company, even though it's a .com and everything's fulfilled from the US. So what happens there is that Google won't allow us to do Google Shopping over there, because it looks at our entity and says, oh, hang on a minute, you're saying you're American, but you're actually Aussies. No, we're not going to let that. So we can't do Google Shopping over there, which is a bummer. So I'm just pushing that through. If you've ever tried to get something through on Google, yeah, it's almost impossible.
Well, especially in the time of COVID, they've sort of shut down a lot of their support, which
Oh.
seems a little crazy to me. They chose this time to shut down their support, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. So look, that's something to think about if any of your listeners have multi-territory stores. Just be aware of that. Google doesn't really take kindly to different entities.
I mean, it's a possible workaround. You could create a second Google ad account temporarily, so you could run Google Shopping.
Yeah. I think we're on to our third one now.
Yeah. The trials and tribulations. That kind of leads me into my last question for you, actually.
I'm losing my hair. So yeah. I'm losing my hair.
Which is, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you've made along the way that possibly our listeners could learn from and benefit from in understanding?
Don't get into the fashion business.
Really?
No.
Now you're saying jaded.
No, not at all. Not at all. It is super hard, but it's kind of a good thing because it keeps competitors away. But it's a very complex product. I would try and look. One of the mistakes, I suppose, would be not starting our content marketing even earlier than we did. I would say if I was to start an ecom business today, the first thing I'd do would be to basically hire a blog writer for $400 or $500 a month and just get cracking with content. That's what I would do. So that was
like publish once a week or something.
Absolutely. If you're going to spend $500 a month, that's probably one of the best things to spend it on. It's a long game though. You're not going to see any benefit from it for 12, 18 months, but you'll see the snowball effect and it's massive, What other, look, I would say, being too narrow-minded in what's working and what's not working with the pay-per-click advertising. I'm quite stubborn, when it comes, it's like, this works and we're just going to do this, we're just going to do this. No, I don't really look outside too much, I might try a bit of video here, a bit of video there. When it doesn't work, I'm like, no, we're going back to this. I think that's a mistake. I think being a bit more open to things like that. Look, I don't know, we've made so many mistakes. There's too many to count, but we kind of survived somehow. So maybe we did something right.
Sheer perseverance is really the key to success for people, and just keep putting one foot forward in front of the other, I think, is definitely something I've learned, Yeah.
And isn't it funny that it creates its own momentum, doesn't it? Once you get past a certain point, it does. It's got a momentum to it. So it's just getting past that point, isn't it?
Exactly, mentally.
Yeah.
I'm mindful of the time, so I don't want to take up too much of your day. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experiences, the trials and tribulations that you've been through, and just generally sharing your wisdom. If people wanted to find out a bit more information about you and possibly other ventures you've got going on, where can people find out more about you?
I would head over to getowen.com.
That's easy enough, isn't it?
My catch-all.
Love it.
There you go.
Getowen.com. Check it out. Owen, thank you so much. And it's been lovely chatting with you.
Great, Alana. It was brilliant.
Awesome.